Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. So when a friend leans in and wounds you, man, that's a faithful friend. But enemies will kiss you over and over again. When I was a kid, I wanted to go professional as an umpire. I knew I wasn't going to go pro as a player, so I thought my better shot was to go pro as an umpire. And I had a mentor named Keith Schartzer. And Keith would come out and he would coach me on how to be a better umpire. And you know, umpires, they tend to roam out here. If you're in the field as an ump, you kind of hang out behind first base. And what I would do is between innings, I would come out and I would take from my position, I'd come over to this fence. This like exact fence. We're not shooting this at some baseball park. We're shooting this at the baseball park where I grew up as a kid. And I would come to this fence and Keith would stand on the other side of that fence and coach me as an umpire. And you know what he told me one time? He goes, hey Kent, I know you're thinking about going down to Florida for the umpire school. That's what you did. If you were an aspiring umpire, you paid a lot of money and you went down to this school in Florida where you went for a week and you were evaluated and trained by actual professional umpires. And he said, hey, I know you're thinking about going down to the ump school, and go if you want to, but you're not going pro as an umpire. And I remember like somewhere around this 15 square feet, my dream of being a pro umpire died. It was like, I'm pretty close. There should be like a little tombstone in the grass here where it's like, this is where Kent's dream died. And I said, really? Why not? Am I not any good? And he goes, no, you're like the best umpire in the city. You're great. You're really, really good. He goes, here's the problem. The average height of a pro baseball catcher is 6'2". And basically, no umpire who's 5'4" is going to catch the command and be able to insert himself as a professional umpire at the level of pro baseball. You're simply not built to be a pro ump. And I think, you know what? In the history of the NBA, there's only been like one guy who under that height has ever made it. Everybody think of Spud Webb. You remember him from the 80s? Or maybe the 70s, I don't remember, but Spud Webb was the only guy. And so you go, oh, well, I'm going to be the Spud Webb of umpires, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show him. Well, you can do that. I mean, feel free, you can. But what I think Keith was doing for me that day, I think he was wounding me faithfully like a friend. And he was saying, look, let me reset your expectations. And I know this can come off as like dream killer and, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, and carpe diem and all the things that you want to do from the Successories posters, and I'll show them. But in reality, sometimes what we really need is we need a friend who shoots it to us straight and tells us what we really need to know, even if in the moment it's not what we want to know. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. And I'm really grateful, looking back, that Keith was able to reset my expectations. I continued to umpire, had a blast, made a lot of money, had a lot of fun. But that time was the time when he helped reset my expectation and my career path. And I'm really glad that he did. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. And that leads me right to this week's mission. This week's mission, think of it like a baseball assignment. There are two players out on the field that get the most attention, the pitcher and the catcher. So you have this guy throwing the ball and you have this guy catching the ball. And I would like you to think of this week's mission in light of those two positions. As a catcher, if you think of yourself as a catcher, are you receiving faithful feedback? So when people come to you and they say, hey man, you know, you sure seem angry, or hey man, I'm not sure you should be doing that thing, or talking to that girl in the office, or hey man, I saw how you handled your teenage kid the other day and that seemed out of bounds. Do you take that feedback and go, oh, well, these people aren't perfect and I'm not going to listen to any of that? If your wife comes to you and has feedback, do you push it off, or do you go, no, you know what? Sometimes feedback stings because it should. Because the feedback hurts a little bit because it should. And so sometimes you just need to be a catcher and you got to catch those pitches. And then sometimes you need to be a pitcher, and not a pitcher trying to strike the batter out, but a pitcher who's trying to lay one up there nice and soft so the person can hit it for your children or for your family, as an example. Are you giving them the kind of feedback that is faithful honest feedback. And I'm not talking about dream killing or being ugly or hateful or telling them you'll never amount to anything, not that. But are you helping your children find their way by giving them faithful feedback, even if it hurts a little bit? Go give it a try. Catch and pitch this week, because you're not a father on accident. So go be a father on purpose.